What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back for another video, and today we're going to be looking at some NHL trade rumors from Spectris Hockey for Sunday, June 9th. Now, I'm not sure whenever you're personally watching this video, but some of these rumors and results can change, so just bear with me. It's June 9th as I'm recording this, so it could change, but thought we'll waste no more time, and if you love hockey content, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. Join the squad here. We've got lots of cool videos coming up, including rumors towards the draft, live streams, everything like that, so don't worry, there's a bunch of stuff coming. Anyways, let's get into the rumors. So, the first bit of news that's been kind of the big news in the last couple days is that the Anaheim Ducks and Corey Perry might be parting ways. Now, basically, Pierre LeBrun reported that the Ducks and Corey Perry have had those discussions via trade or a contract buyout, and we do know that the Anaheim Ducks are in a little bit of cap trouble, and by that I mean a lot considering the ages of the players on their team. And they don't really want to move out any of their young assets because they want to try to rebuild or retool with those assets. So I'm kind of not sure what the Ducks want to do here, but from what they're saying is that they've had discussions, and I feel like Corey Perry, although he has been a little bit on the downside of his career as of late, he's probably a little bit easier to move than a lot of guys that we see in these trade rumors that have big contracts. Now, he is 34, and like I said, the Ducks are trying to rebuild with their youth. They're talking to a bunch of teams apparently, but they could be forced to absorb some of their contract, some of Perry's contract, it says here. So I would think that retaining some salary on the deal is probably what they'd rather do than get rid of those young assets, but it's expensive to do that sometimes because then, you know, you're obviously losing money. So if they can find a team that would take a decent asset and nothing too crazy to take on Perry, maybe it's multiple picks, not high picks, but at least, you know, something that they can mix in with a decent prospect. Again, I'm kind of back and forth on this because I see that the Ducks probably wouldn't want to do something like that, but at the same time, if they don't want to take any money on and you know, have them absorbing some of the contract, then that's what they'll have to do. So if we're looking at his cap friendly here, his cap hit right now, of course, is pretty high, and he's got a no movement clause, but it looks like he's willing to waive to help out the Ducks here and for him to get a bit of a fresh start, even though he's at the back end of his career. But we all know Corey Perry's been a fantastic player in the NHL and on the international stage. But currently his cap hit is $8.625 million. That's for this season and next year. And like I said, there is a no movement clause. Now, I don't believe there's any bonuses. No, there's no... Okay, there is a signing bonus next season that's $3 million. So that's actually going to hurt the team that he goes to as well. So keep that in mind. He doesn't have a signing bonus this year, but next year he does. This past season, in 31 games played, he only had 10 points. The year before that, he had 49, so not too bad, but that cap hit is still pretty ridiculous. The year before that, he had 53 points, and then before that, 62, but you can see, like, it's starting to go down, of course, but depending on where he goes, he can still be a decent player, especially if the cap hit is absorbed by Anaheim, but if it's not, then you're probably going to be dealing with a player that's severely overpaid at this point. So he does have the full no movement clause, so it's not like a team list, but he does have a bit of control. But I think that him and the Ducks are probably discussing things, and his agent probably is helping out as well. So that helps speed up the trade talks if the agent goes to a team and says, hey, my player's interested in playing for you. But keep in mind, there's probably a limited amount of teams as well, even with an absorbed cap hit, because there's a lot of teams that are in a little bit of cap trouble here and probably don't want to take on an aging Corey Perry. Now, basically, with Perry, it's like you don't really know what you're going to get. Now, and by that I mean you could get decent production, but at this point you never know if the injuries will take over and you're just literally absorbing a massive cap hit. So that also is another feather in the cap for their GM if he can make a trade happen like that. So we'll have to see if Corey Perry can get moved, but I think that cap hit is really high and they're going to have to absorb quite a bit of money if Bob Murray is going to make that deal. So the next thing here is something that we've talked about on this channel before, and it's regarding the Milan Lucic rumors and Lucic Eriksson. So there's been discussions that the Canucks might be interested in Milan Lucic and that the Oilers would take on Lucic Eriksson. Now, if we're looking at cap friendly again, Milan Lucic has a pretty hefty deal. So, of course, this year the cap hit $6 million, but then his contract goes up until the 2023-24 season. That's when he'll be a free agent. His contract ends after the 2022-23 season. And in his last 2 seasons, he has a modified no-trade clause, no movement clause, and he gets signing bonuses every single year. So that's a lot of money for a team to be taking him on, and his AAV is still $6 million, and the Oilers can't afford to absorb any money because it looks like they'd be taking on a big contract in this deal, which is Lucic Eriksson. So Lucic Eriksson has 1 less year on his deal. The cap hit is the same at $6 million, but there's also signing bonuses there. So these Canadian teams, they like to give out these signing bonuses. And he also has a modified no-trade clause in his last 2 seasons. So this is just a tale of 2 really bad players right now. They're both getting up there in age, and I have no idea why the Canucks would be interested in doing something like this. The Canucks are in a much better spot in my eyes than the Oilers. They have more cap space to work with. And, well, they have more cap space to work with in the sense that they have a lot of young players that are probably going to absorb that money, whereas the Oilers have a lot of players that are not very good absorbing that money. And then, of course, they have those big name guys that are McDavid and Draisaitl that deserve that money. But, you know, a lot of people have given me flack for this, but Russell, I think that's a really bad contract. I don't care if he blocks a lot of shots. It's not worth the money that they're paying him, especially when they are a really struggling cap team. And then, of course, Milan Lucic, and, you know, they've got some guys taking up some of their money there that really don't deserve that money, and they need to be able to pay that to some of their futures. So For them, the Oilers, this is a really tough situation, because with a guy like McDavid and a guy like Draisaitl who can really play, if they had money, you can attract these free agents around this time of year because it's Connor McDavid, it's Leon Draisaitl. They put up points. They can help you put up points. But at this point, they don't have any leverage here. The Canucks have a bit of leverage because they have a little bit more money to play with, and they have the chance to move on from Eriksson and not have to take on a guy like Lucic. So I think the Canucks should go to some other team that has more money and sweeten the pot a little bit. They have more picks, they have more prospects that they can deal with, and if you have to get rid of 1 or 2 pieces to remove that contract and not take on any salary back, that's money in the bank. The Canucks can go after better players to surround with their team who's closer to the playoffs than the Oilers, who are probably 3 or 4 years away from contention if they don't get out from under some of these deals. So the Oilers are the problem here. And the Oilers would probably have to add something a little bit because Eriksson's deal is shorter, so they would actually have a little bit more cap relief sooner than the Canucks would. So this is a really complicated deal. I think the Canucks should stay away from Lucic, although they said he can mentor some of their young players. I don't really agree with that. I think that that's an overpaid mentor, and it's proven to be a bad thing in today's NHL, where you pay or you take on this big contract for an aging player that doesn't do anything. And it doesn't make any sense to me. Lucic and Eriksson are both just not very good players that are going to get swapped if this deal even happens. But I really think the Canucks are the team that has the upper hand here, and they do not have to make this move. They do not have to make this move. They can do this with some other team and not take on Lucic. And we've heard that they're interested in Nikita Zaitsev as well. Like, I don't know what the Canucks are doing here, but taking on a bunch of money where they could distribute that probably to a better player. Like, Zaitsev is not as bad because it's 4.5. It's a right-handed defenseman that could excel somewhere else. But with Lucic, like, you're not bringing in somebody that's going to excel with your team. I know Lucic has said he'd play for Vancouver, and it's been, like, I guess one of his bucket list things, but it doesn't make any sense to me. I really don't understand why that deal would happen, and I think that the Vancouver Canucks and Jim Benning need to hang up the phone if the Oilers are calling regarding Milan Lucic, and I don't care about, you know, the fact that Eriksson can be swapped in that deal. It doesn't matter to me. You're taking on more money with Lucic in the long term. Shouldn't do it. The next thing is about Matt Duchene. There's just been some rumors about him where he might sign after the big Jeff Skinner contract, 8 years, $72 million with the Buffalo Sabres. I was going to report on that and make a video. I still might, but anyways, maybe Duchene's looking for a big deal as well. He probably will be arguably the best free agent available besides Panarin. We'll have to see what happens, but This free agency is going to be really wild, and there's a lot of teams linked to him so far. Nashville, Montreal, maybe the Ottawa Senators could kick back into there, but the Blue Jackets would like to hang on to him if they can. Kekalainen's going to be checking in with him. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be a fantastic summer for free agents. There are some pretty decent names up there, but Duchene could be looking for the big bucks. If I was to throw a team out there right off the bat, if Nashville can find the money for him, I think that that's the safe bet. He wants to play there. But the Montreal Canadiens are a team that I could really see him going to and getting that big contract. But we know the Montreal Canadiens sometimes don't want to pay those big contracts. So we'll have to see. But I think Nashville and Montreal have to be the leaders so far. And we've heard now that the Arizona Coyotes are a team that might have him as their #1 priority. It's been reported that Duchene might be the guy that they're targeting in free agency. Who knows? If they can fork out the big bucks, and I think that they're under new ownership, Arizona could be right in there on that Duchene deal. They might have to overpay a little bit, but I think that Nashville and Montreal are the leaders in my eyes for that. The next little bit of news here is regarding Jason Zucker. Of course, he's almost been traded twice to Calgary and Minnesota. Now there's a chance that a lot more teams are going to get interested, including the Buffalo Sabres, as they are interested in a top 6 winger and a second-line center. So they're going to be out there looking for guys in free agency and via trade. Jason Zucker could be a name that's out there. We'll have to report more on that if there's more information. But it looks like Buffalo is going for it. They want to make sure that they can get some guys in there for Skinner, for Eichel. And, you know, their blue line's going to be shaken up a little bit. So we'll have to see. Buffalo should be better this year. The last thing here is just about... oh, and also with Buffalo, they were saying that maybe Kyle Turris maybe, he's got a big cap hit and hasn't really produced the way they wanted him to in Nashville. But we'll have to see. Maybe that's an option for the Sabres. Maybe he'll play well there. Last little thing here is that we've talked about before, the Kings are looking to trade Phaneuf or buy him out. With more information coming, we'll have to see, but the buyout will be very hefty for Phaneuf in the first couple years, so I don't think the Kings would want to go that route. But that's the information I have today. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe. I'd love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. Let's get to 6,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.